just have one more little thing I want to tell you. But I want a little audience participation on this one, because this is my epilogue. I want when I can't see the balcony. Are y'all up there? Well, you all look like phantoms of the opera up there. I want, when I point with my right finger down here, I want y'all to all go, "No, Rollins, no." And when I point up here with my left hand, I want you to go, "You're a fool." Will you do that? Can I hear you? No, Rollins, no. You're a fool. Well, yeah, that was hateful. I think they're overperforming in the balcony. But let me tell you something. I remember that's what you do in the balcony, right? I think more's been conceived in the balcony. Anyway. This story begins with, in 1999, when I created my consulting business, and the very first job I got was to send me to Hawaii. That's what I thought. Hawaii, no. But I went. Everything went all right. And then I decided I'd go back to Maui. I wanted to go back to Maui. It's a beautiful island. Anybody here been to, how many of you been to Maui? Anybody been to Haleakala? Yeah. Let me explain about this. Haleakala is, remember, the island is shaped like a bowling pin, where it's big here, let's say. And the big part of it that's round is the world's largest dormant volcano. It's a national park, and it's totally amazing. And here's the deal. It is 2 miles high, which means that in the winter it snows and people actually ski on Haleakala on Maui. And then even the center of it is down there is a mile high. That's how huge this thing is. And when you're down in the center of it, it's only very strange desert things that bloom there, that grow there, that grow nowhere else on Earth. So they ended up filming part of the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, and they trained astronauts for the landing on the moon there in Haleakala. And in 1971, I had actually gone down and hiked across it. It's about 25 miles across. And if you go to the right and go out that way, you ultimately come to a fissure in the wall, and you just walk out and you end up entering the 7 sacred pools on the Hana end, which is 1,000,000 miles away, but that's no other thing. It's where Charles Lindbergh is buried, for curiosity here. So I knew Haleakala, but of course it was a very different trip when I was there in 71. And so now I'm 54 years old, and I'm in Maui, and I have a rent car, and I drive up to the top of Haleakala, and I'm looking down. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon. And when you're up there so high, the blue sky goes right into the blue ocean, and you can't tell where one stops and the other begins, and so it feels like you're on something floating. It's really quite amazing. It's one of the world's great wonders. But I see the trail that goes down, and I'm thinking, it's just, I see the trail, and I know that has to be 25 miles out that way because I've done it, but I see the trail, but I love walking, and I just had on my shorts and a little windbreaker, and I had a little day pack, but the day pack is really, what I had on is really just nothing, really. It's just a little nylon baggy thing, and I had like half a bottle of water and half a bag of pretzels. But I decide I'm just gonna go down the trail, and then I'll come back. But something happens, because I just love walking. And have any of you? It's usually men. That's the rap I hear. How many of you women have ever been married to a man that when he misses the exit, he just keeps driving? You know. And there might be. How many of men have been married to a woman that does that? I don't know. But something happened to me, and as I kept walking, I just kept wanting to keep walking. And finally, I realized that I'm just walking, and that you're supposed to really register if you're going into this volcano, and then meanwhile, it's really getting late, and you need to turn around. But unfortunately, I didn't. And I ended up, remember what I told you the other one about when it makes no sense and all of a sudden something comes over and it's like you're more curious than you are worried? So at this point, I finally get down, which is quite a hike actually, to the point where there's the intersection in the Y, and I know what this does going to the Seven Sacred Pools, and if I even did that, that is really about a 10-hour hike, and then it puts you in the Hana thing, which is getting back to where the car was, would take a day and a half. It's not like, you just catch a cab or call Uber. But I got to the Y in the road, and I just veered to the left. And I just keep going. I'm in a brand new pair of hiking boots, but frankly, I had broken them in, and they were fine. But, there was no planning for any of this, and I have no idea where this is going. And I just keep going, and I keep on going, keep on going. It finally gets dark, but there's moons out. It's getting colder. I know it's going to get cold. I have no idea why I'm doing this. I have no idea where this is going. I have no idea. And then I finally get to, and remember, it's a national park and these are trails, so it's not like I'm wandering in the desert, thank goodness. I wouldn't want you to think I'm a fool. Even though that balcony is so hateful. So now the trail gets to the thing, and it's the switchbacks. You know what switchback trails are. Seriously, you can't go straight up. So a switchback trail is going to be cut in and do like this, where you zigzag. I've since researched, before I decided to share this story with you, that what I was entering into, unbeknownst to me, was a straight full mile up, and the switchback trails are 4 miles of switchbacks. And this is after I've already gone 7 hours, and I walk fast, so 7 hours, it would have been a 10-hour hike for most. And as I start going on the switchbacks, they're not so steep early on, and they're probably only about that wide, if that wide, and then it sheer drops. It's not like they've got railings or something. I now get to the point where, does this sound familiar from the end of the second act? It's now that I'm actually going through the clouds, because I'm now up that high and I'm going through the clouds. So now I'm feeling my way along the walls, because it's now dropping into the 40s and I do not want to have exposure or whatever. And so I just keep going, because that's my way. I just keep going. I'm the Energizer Bunny. So I'm just keep going, and I'm doing that. And then finally I get out of the clouds, and when I'm out of the clouds and they part, I realize that I can see a twinkling light in the center of the volcano. I know what that cabin is, that people blah, blah, blah. And it's truly, do you know what it's like to look a mile down and maybe 15 miles out and be on really something like this again? And at that point, I've been maybe 10 hours doing this with no food, no water, and I'm dressed like I'm going to a luau. So finally, I just keep going until I peek out and I'm at the top. And when I get to the top, I can see, of all things, the most inglorious finale. There's a paved parking lot there because, of course, would be the trailhead. I've read since that they always say to begin there. You're supposed to go down those, not up after you've been, whatever. Picky. So I see the paved parking lot, and I'm, of course, exhausted, but you can imagine how relieved I am, although I have no earthly idea now what I'm going to do. But I never think about that. It's always what's right in front of me. So once again, I've survived, and I start walking toward the parking lot, and then suddenly I realize, God strike me. I look, and I can see twinkling lights on either side of my feet. It's so overcast and dark, I don't know what I did. But I'm standing there on something, and I can see the twinkling light on either. And so I decide that I'm going to, of course, I can't panic. You see, everybody says, well, I'd just die. Well, yeah, you would. But, believe me, I was horror-stricken because, remember, I'm afraid of heights. And this is not just heights. That's a mile. That is a solid mile. And I start walking with one foot in front of the other. So I just pretend like I'm either a tightrope walker or a model in Paris. And I finally, to my satisfaction, I'm finally safe. And I go over there and I stand in the middle of this empty and totally unpicturesque cement parking lot, and I said, let's take stock. First time you came to these islands, 2 men tried to kill you 2 times on 2 different islands. Now, on 2 different trips to these islands, on 2 different trips, you've almost killed yourself in 2 different volcanoes. I've had it with you. I'm going nowhere else with you. But then here's really what I thought. Yes, you're cold, but you've been cold. You know what it's like to be naked in sub-freezing mud. You'll be warm again. Yeah, you're probably dehydrated, but picky. You'll be getting undehydrated is pretty soon. And hungry, you'll be eating prime rib or something before you know it. That'll all pass. And exhausted, certainly. But what I want you to do is this. Somehow you're going to somehow get back to the car at some point, and you're going to be able to get back to your hotel room, and you'll sleep like the dead. But when you wake up, you won't be. And you'll have all this food and anything you want, and you'll be as good as new. But when that happens, here's what I want. I want you to pour a glass of whiskey the size of a tumbler of iced tea, and I want you to drink that and thank God you're alive. But I also say that to you tonight, that I'm ready to go out in that bar, and I want to drink to all of you, because let me tell you something. You have given me, this is our 3rd show this year, and we've sold out every show with no real publicity, and I don't know. I have no earthly idea how or why, and I'm sure my mad maestro is completely mystified by it. But let me tell you what I want you to take away from here, from my heart, that you've given me the gift of a lifetime, actually, which is kind of an unintended but intended pun, because it is the gift of a lifetime, because these stories are things that I experienced. But more importantly tonight, you've given me a chance to really, really remember how unlikely it is that I lived to tell these happy murder stories. Thank you. Meet me in the bar.